All right. Hello, everyone. I will go ahead and get the webinar started. So appreciate everyone who is on the call. We're probably going to have a few more people jump in. That's great. But let's go ahead and kick it off. My name is Derek. I'm going to be moderating the webinar today. We have a lot to discuss, and we've got some great presenters to help discuss it. So just to get started, why Brown, why online, why now? Three huge questions that we hope to answer in our discussion today. We also hope to kind of not just talk to you, but have you talk to us. This is going to be a pretty interactive webinar. We want to hear from you. This is going to be a conversational group. It's a smaller group, and that's the whole point. We really want to hear from you and try to answer any questions you have. So let's jump in and talk about what we're going to be talking about. What's the discussion? What's the agenda? So those three questions that we kind of mentioned before: why Brown, the history mission, why online, what does that look like online, and why specifically now should you be interested in the Masters of Public Health program. We're gonna kind of address all of those questions. Quick admissions overview. Just a reminder, many of you probably already know this, but the application for spring does not yet open. It opens on August 16th. Which honestly is right around the corner. So you kind of need to prepare now. So we'll be talking about what you need to prepare to get your application in. And then I think the most exciting part is the live questions or live Q&A session. We're going to be doing some talking to you, but then we want you to talk to us. We want to answer your questions and see how we can help you out. So speaking of answering questions and talking to you, who will be doing all of that? Let's jump right in. So these are the presenters that we have for you. I'm going to quickly kind of go through and talk to you about them. We've got Jen Nazarino, who's the inaugural Associate Director of the Online MPH program. She's been at Brown for about 5 years, and she's got a long history in public health, the public health industry, experience in long-term care and healthcare related systems. Interesting, in addition to her work as a Brown faculty member, she's the co-founder and co-director of the Philippine Health Initiative for Research Service and Training. So it's great to have her on this call. She knows about the industry. She knows the impact you can make in public health. So welcome, Jennifer. We also have Matt Wallace, Assistant Director of Student Recruitment and Marketing. He's been at Brown for about 3 years, and he has an extensive career in enrollment and admissions, and he works with the graduate admissions for online programs for Brown. So he knows the ins and outs of the application. He is the person that will kind of walk you through and help you understand it. So happy to have him on the call. And then finally, we have Kim Pulowski, Brown University enrollment coach. Kim also has a long history in higher education, about 13 years. And her emphasis is in adult online students. So she knows very well a lot of the challenges that adult students face with trying to juggle their lives and work and school. So she's more than welcome to help answer those questions and help figure out answers to them. So welcome, the three of you. Let's jump right in. I think we're going to start off with that first big question, which is, why Brown? And you can see here, like, one of the things that we have, like I mentioned earlier, we do really want to make it interactive. So we kind of want to hear from you before we talk about why we think you should choose Brown. Why do you think? Like, what was it about Brown that drew you to the institution? So feel free, you'll see the buttons at the bottom. There's a chat button. Feel free to go ahead and just chat away in that. We all have access to it, all the presenters, so they can see, but we want to hear from you. We're going to go ahead and kind of give you reasons why you should choose Brown, but we want to hear why you actually did. Why are you talking with us today? Why are you here? We're so glad that you are, and we want to know why you are. So feel free to use that chat. But I guess we will go ahead and Matt will begin and kind of speak to some of those reasons.
Thank you so much, Derek, for the lovely introductions and bringing us all together here. And thank you, everybody that's attending. I think that's so awesome. Why Brown? It's that's the golden question. I mean, there are so many different and great schools of public health out there, and everyone is different, right? And so really you want to find the one that best fits you and your interests and the impact that you want to make in the world of public health. Obviously, Brown is a very famous institution, is in the Ivy League. We're pretty well known for being the most progressive out of all the Ivy League institutions. Been around for a while, 1764, the seventh oldest college in the United States. We were the first college to welcome in students from all different religions, and that sort of progressive spirit is still with us today. So US News and World Report does a ranking on top schools of public health. This year we are top 8%, which is excellent, and top 10 for NIH funding, which is also really good, especially for a smaller school. You know, a little bit about our mission is, you know, not only are we looking to improve the health of populations around the world internationally, we really want to focus on those that have been, you know, affected by the social determinants of health, right? The inequities, and getting rid of those kind of disparities and inequities that are caused by the social determinants of health. So we believe strongly at Brown that every single human being has the right to be healthy, not only physically, but also mentally and emotionally as well. So that's the sort of culture that we have here. And I'll go ahead and pass things on over to Jen to talk a little bit about our awesome, unique curriculum.
Thanks, Matt. So when we designed this program, we really wanted to think about making sure that students really do have a real world experience in terms of application of real world case examples that they could utilize throughout their coursework. They would be threaded into each of the courses so that you would learn about a case study from the leadership perspective, from interventions and evaluations, from social determinants of health lenses. So that's why we really were invested in making this much more of a case-based learning approach. We really do believe that in terms of doing public health, you have to really do public health. It's learning, but also applying it to real world scenarios. In terms of the ILE, you know, a lot of universities use thesis as your final project, and that's amazing. And we do that too also in the in-person program. However, in the online, we really want to focus on, yes, we want you to think about research. We want you to think of research questions, but part of your ILE, a significant part, is really thinking about solutions. And so we're really hoping that and expect that you would be taking all the courses that you you will go through in the program, which is 11 courses. And then the 12th course would be the ILE course. And this is where you would demonstrate, based on the courses that you've taken with us, as well as your work experience, that you would come up with solutions to a public health challenge that you really want to focus on and really tackle. As Matt said, we have one of the smaller schools of public health programs, and I think that's fantastic. And that really leads to a low student to faculty ratio. Each of you would be assigned a faculty advisor that would meet with you once a month to just see how you're doing and just touch base and make sure that you're doing okay on the program and doing well and can answer any of your questions. And then yes, we don't want to brag, but yes, world-renowned faculty, of course. The faculty at Brown are outstanding. I think you'll outstanding, but also I would say kind and really generous with their time. And I think you would really appreciate learning from these folks that really are invested in student learning. Let me talk to you about some faculty members that you'll be taking courses with. Adam Sullivan, he will be teaching the biostats course. He comes to us from Harvard, but he knows I don't care about that. It's all about being a great teacher, and he is one. He has won multiple teaching awards at Brown University. He also works in the pharmaceutical industry and really focuses on research related to cancer. Cancer research, does currently working on projects related to AML. And so he's a wonderful professor that really cares about student learning, particularly related to biostatistics. Alex Glacier, she is a law professor, and she is joining us to teach the leadership class. She also is the president and CEO of the New England Donor Services, which focuses on organ and blood donations for all of New England, all the Northeast. And she is nationally known as well. And she has actually brought some prominent leaders into her course that you will have exposure to and learn from. And then I will be teaching social determinants of health. I've taught this class for maybe 4 or 5 years now. I also teach an intersectionality course. And so I will be bringing that into the class, my classroom related to the social determinants of health, where we'll be thinking through how does the intersection of race, gender, class, immigration status, where you live, urban, rural, how does that impact your health? And we'll be exploring that and thinking critically about resistance and solutions around that. Next slide. Monica Doshi, she is a new faculty member that's joining us. She has over 20 years experience as a global public health consultant. She's also does research in Kenya and focuses on HIV/AIDS prevention. Megan Rowney, she is our academic dean. She is a physician scientist. She's an emergency room doctor. I don't know if you've been watching the news lately. She has been on the news to really talk about and focus on gun violence prevention and how we really do need to approach this issue from a public health perspective. Ron Aubert, he is the interim dean while Dean Jha is working at the White House. But Ron Aubert is an amazing scholar, but also what I think you'll really love about Ron is that he also has worked in the public and private sectors. He's been the director of research strategy, a science officer for healthcare companies, and for the CDC, he's been the chief of epidemiology, division of diabetes and translation. And so he is our interim dean, and these are all wonderful leaders that you would have access to.
Okay, so now we're going to move into another area, but before we jump in there, I do think it's pretty exciting with, why we discussed why Brown, why choose Brown. I think it's interesting in any degree program you're going to go into. You want to be taught and have instructors who are leaders in the field, and as Jen explained, that is very much the case. I think it's always exciting to find out in those courses like how you can make an impact and the initiatives and changes that you can drive. But how fascinating to speak with faculty themselves, because they've done this, and talk with them about the challenges they ran into, how they overcame these challenges, and what inspires them to do what they do. I think that's really phenomenal, and just adds another dimension to the program. So thank you, Matt and Jen, for sharing that information. Now let's move into why online. Reminder, feel free to answer this question in the chat. Again, we want to hear from you, but this is an interesting modality. Sometimes it's the only modality based on just life situation and busyness and scheduling. It's the only modality that you can get your education. So Kim Pulowski, the enrollment manager, is going to help answer this question.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek, so much. And like Derek mentioned, I am an enrollment coach, and I've worked in adult education now for well over a decade, almost a decade and a half at this point. And there's definitely some consistent reasons why adults would choose to pursue an online format for their education. And I have to say, this is probably, in all my experience, this is definitely the most impressive and favorite program that I have worked with and worked for as far as Brown University. But there's a consistent theme, right? So full-time working adults, you are juggling a ton of different issues or aspects of your life, whether it's family, it's work, it's social obligations, it's a part-time job, whatever it is, and you're wanting to fit in your education, online is typically the way to go. And so with this particular program, they have done a phenomenal job of mixing asynchronous and synchronous components to your classroom. So it was definitely built with the understanding that this is working with full-time working adults. And so the need to have that asynchronous control is really important, where you know exactly what your expectations are each week, you know what your assignments are, you know what your deadlines are, but you have the ability to get in and get your work done when it's convenient for you. So whether that's middle of the night or first thing in the morning before the kids get up and get ready for school, that is completely up to you. But having said that, there is a synchronous component, which kind of piggybacks on what Jen was saying about the faculty. There are weekly discussion meetings to give you access not only to your incredible faculty, but to your classmates who are also professionals, who have been in the field, who are working in different career backgrounds. And that ability to communicate and talk through relevant subjects is going to be absolutely vital to your learning experience. But those two aspects are a part of your classroom. And so it does give you more control. It's super flexible in that regard. Accessible, of course. Most of us, if not all of us, have access to computers, tablets, our cell phones. I mean, we carry computers with us in our hands all the time. And then, of course, again, piggybacking on what Jen had to say, this is a practical application focused program. You're going to walk away with so many amazing skills, so much knowledge and hands-on experience. So why online? Those are the main reasons.
Right. And thank you, Kim. I think that is, I think it's really good to kind of think about the different benefits of online, especially not only the things that Kim mentioned, but just because you're online doesn't mean you're alone, doesn't mean you have a less than experience than if you were on the beautiful campus of Brown University. Faculty is very much available. The support structures and systems in place are very much available. These people on the call right now are available. I mean, so yes, it's a different modality. It's a different experience, but it's the same. I guess it's the same student experience. It's the same knowledge and rigorous learning that you're going to have whether you're there on campus. So let's kind of shift into why should you choose this program right now? Again, there's the chat. I'm going to keep pushing that chat. So feel free to put your answers in there of why you are considering this right now. There's so many distractions that come up in life that can pull you away. But now really is a great time, and we're going to kind of jump right into that. We're going to start off with Jen.
Or
I'm sorry, we're going to start off with Matt. Got that?
Yeah, either way. I mean, Jen could definitely answer this as well. A lot better than I could, I'll tell you that. I don't think it's any surprise that we are in the middle of the most important public health moment of our lifetimes, from COVID to climate change to the inequities caused by racism. Our reproductive rights are being taken away. There are a lot of public health crises that need our attention. And it's probably the reason why you're in this virtual room right now, is because you have something that you're passionate about changing in the world, making the world a better place. You can see a lot of these crises right here on the page. And I definitely wanted to piggyback on what Kim said as well, with, applying. It's really applying that. You're going to learn the theory aspect of public health, but we really want you to apply that and make an impact. While you're a student here, we want you, to learn the theory, but be able to apply it. And that's where learning public health by doing public health, which is our motto and our credo, our ethos, is all about. So this online modality, this online MPH, which is identical to the residential MPH in forms of the credential that you're going to receive. That's what makes this really special and really kind of in tune with the culture that we already have here at Brown.
So in terms of job growth, we've done the research and we do see that there is a lot of jobs coming up around public health. And we want you to think about our program in terms of focused on leadership. We do need to train the future generation of leaders in public health. And so we're very much focused in this program around leadership courses, communication courses, and data analysis. And data analysis, we're focused in biostatistics, qualitative data, and survey methods, as well as epidemiology. And so that's what we focus on. Of course, it's always the right time to focus on promoting healthy lifestyles and designing outreach campaigns. But also as a leader, you would be advising policymakers. We're going to train you to how do you develop policy memos? How do you talk to policymakers? As well as how do you focus on eliminating health disparities and inequities? First, of course, we need to think about it theoretically. We need to understand the root causes for health inequities and disparities, but then what do we do next? And that is the doing of public health. And that is what we're very much focused on in this program. Just to piggyback on what my colleagues have said, that it's really much doing the applied work of public health, because so many students that join us, that's what they want to do. But in this program, we really want to focus on developing your leadership skills.
Okay, so the admissions overview, and this is a lot of what my job entails, is helping you through the application process. Now, we use an application platform called SOFAS, and a lot of you are familiar with that. Some of you are not. That's something I can discuss with you, or one of my colleagues can discuss with you as far as where that is and how to access that. But I want to stress that the actual application does not open up until August 16th. There's only a 2-month window. So SOFAS can take a while, to be honest. Most people take about 3 to 4 weeks for this to process through. So just be aware of that. You want to kind of hit the ground running as soon as August 16th application opens. The priority deadline is September 15th. The final deadline is October 15th. So there's literally only a 2-month window. This is specifically for our spring start, which is January 25th of 2023. What's required is you need to request all of your official transcripts. Anywhere that you have attended will be required. You'll need to have an updated resume. One of the criteria is you need to have some professional experience. So minimum 1 to 2 years of professional experience is ideal. Should I say almost required in that regard. 3 letters of recommendation. So SOFAS actually requires 2, Brown University requires 3. You want to make sure you're choosing people who are going to speak very highly on your behalf. People who will give you I highly recommend this applicant. Whether they're professional recommendations or academic recommendations, you want them to be more current and relevant to what you're doing now. Let's see, personal statement. So the personal statement is really the chance for you to show who you are, to show your passion, to really move the review committee to want to accept you into the program. So this is a chance where you get to show what's motivated you towards public health, how you want to impact public health, what you really ultimately want to do, and where your passion lies. And then if you have international schooling, you will have to do a WES evaluation, which is an evaluation that is done to equate things into American credits. And then the last thing I'll talk about are the merit-based scholarships. So the merit-based scholarships are going to range from 33% to 50% to 100%. Every accepted applicant is considered for one of these merit-based scholarships, and a student will find out about that scholarship if it's a yes, and if so, how much, or you'll find out if it's a no at the same time you are told about your acceptance into the program. So you really want to make sure your packet is meaty and passionate and really gives the review committee every opportunity to say yes.
All right, thank you, Kim. And yeah, there's a lot of information there, the admissions, and I'm sure this is a big area for prospective students like yourselves who are on the webinar right now. So please, I see there's been a few questions that have come in, and that's fantastic. We're going to get to them in the next few seconds here. Continue to ask those. That Q&A button at the bottom of the screen that you see, just all of your questions, throw them in there right now, and we will get to those very soon. Before we jump into that though, wanted to talk about the next webinar that we have scheduled. So this one, it will be all about financial aid essentials. So we're going to be talking about not just financial aid in terms of the FAFSA form that you can fill out for federal aid, but all of the other kinds of aid that are offered, like the merit-based scholarships that we talked about a little bit, the app fee waivers. We'll have a financial aid representative on the webinar to talk with us. And I'm going to go ahead and share that link now in the chat. So feel free to register for that next webinar right now. And okay, so now we are open for the live Q&A. So all three of the presenters can answer your questions. Again, we have Jen, Matt, and Kim, and they are happy to answer any of the questions that you have. And again, while they're answering the questions, I just wanted to leave these dates up. These are very important dates to remember. So jot them down. They will come before you know it. Like September seems far, October seems far. They'll creep up on you. So I really think that you should make a note of that and make sure that you are ready August 16th when that opens to begin the application. So let's go ahead and start the questions here. We have some in the queue, and again, the presenters can see these in the queue, which is great. We all have access to it. You literally have access to Brown faculty and enrollment right now. So take that opportunity. But let's begin with the synchronous and asynchronous, and exactly what does that mean?
Yeah, Minoko is asking awesome questions. Oh, Jen, I just saw you unmute yourself. Do you want to answer this one?
Oh, go ahead. I'll just follow up. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so essentially, I'll just give the basics. So synchronous is scheduled real time. So it's when you're meeting somebody right now, like face to face during a scheduled time, and asynchronous is on your own time, right? And that's why most of the program is asynchronous, is because it creates that flexibility that you can really need to be successful, academically and professionally. So at a basis, that's what it means. Jen, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure. So let's walk through a leadership course, right? And so Alex Glacier would, for the asynchronous part, maybe do videos and modules around ethics around leadership and public health, let's say, right? And so that's the asynchronous part where you'll be learning on your own, discussion chats with your cohort, reading material, like that'll be on your own time, right? But the weekly synchronous meetings, which are not mandatory, but I would push every student to definitely join the synchronous meetings. This is your time with your professor. She has written many of her own case studies as a law professor, and this is a time where she would walk you through these case studies. She will walk you through the protagonist, maybe she's case studies on this regarding a CEO of a hospital, right? And it's like walking through that case study with you and being interactive with your cohort. It's not just meeting with your professor, it's like talking with your peers and really tackling some of the challenges that a public health institution may be dealing with, right? And so this is your time. It's weekly sessions every week. They're going to make sure they're going to find a really a good time for most students, if not all students, to meet up, and it'll be an hour session long. They will be recorded though, so that if you aren't able to make it, you'll still have access to the synchronous meeting, and you can watch it on your own time.
Great. And another question that's kind of come up outside of this chat here, it was mentioned before that you need at least 2 years work experience. And as we can see these dates, they are kind of, classes don't even start until January. So what happens if you don't have like you might have 2 years work experience in January, but when you're applying right now, you don't yet have that 2 years work experience. How would that work?
So we would consider that. I also think about your work experience when you were in college. That we look at that too. Like it's not just after you graduated from your undergrad. It's, you know, many of us work during college, and so make sure to put that in there. And we do consider that. We do consider that. So, and knowing that you wouldn't start till later, we would count that as well.
Great. And then I think we talked a little bit about the merit-based scholarships. Hopefully, Minoka, hopefully we answered that question for you. If not, please, you know, send another question for us. But are there any other forms of aid? Again, this will be discussed in detail in August. So please join us in August for the financial aid. But financial aid is always going to be a topic of discussion. That's something we realize is going to come up. We want to answer it whenever we can. So are there other forms of financial aid outside of these merit-based scholarships? Like I'm thinking the app fee waivers. What is that? If Matt, if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I just had to make sure I wasn't in the screen, so I had to make sure I was unmuted, and I was, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, so there are a lot of different kinds. So first, to answer your question about the merit-based aid, the best thing about that is you don't have to do anything. Like you're automatically considered. So when you submit your application, you will automatically be considered for a merit-based scholarship. You don't have to submit any additional paperwork or anything like that. Not everybody gets a merit-based scholarship, but if you do, like Kim mentioned, you know, it can be, I think up to 50% or higher.
100%.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Even better, even better. And then, yeah, we have application fee waivers as well. So you can request an application fee waiver either through SOFAS. SOFAS has their own application fee waivers, or we also offer application fee waivers for those that have participated in events, conferences, or organizations that are intended to provide educational opportunities for those that have historically not been able to get those opportunities. So you can find those on our admissions website, and just make sure that when you do complete it kind of close to when you're almost done with your application, because you only have 2 weeks to use the application fee waiver. So feel free to reach out to me or reach out to that email there if you have any additional questions with that. And then of course there's outside scholarships through like the ASPPH as well. I'll go ahead and pop in the link for that in the chat as well.
Yep. Right. And then there's a quick question about the proficiency test for English speakers.
Yeah, cool. I can answer that too. So yeah, let's see what the question is. Even though you're a native English speaker, yeah. So if you come from a country whose primary language is English, you do not need to provide English proficiency. Or if you've completed a degree, a post-secondary degree from an accredited institution whose mode of instruction was in English, easy for me to say, then you don't need language proficiency either. So we do have a list of of countries that are exempt. I'll go ahead and pop that in to the chat right now, but it can be a little bit complex, so I can understand why you would ask. Make sure I send this to everybody. Oh, do I only have the ability to go to hosts and panelists here? It doesn't look like I can share with everyone, so I will put it as an answer to your Q&A. There you
Great.
go.
And another thing I was just thinking now, looking at the slide that we're seeing right in front of us, is so we have a priority application deadline and a final application deadline. What is the difference? What do we mean? What is the difference between the two?
Do you want me to take that one? Okay. So the priority deadline, application deadline, is going to be really important if you, and again, I realize that it's only a month, and sometimes just getting your application done and getting all those documents in within that time can be bringing you right up to that deadline. But the priority deadline, if you meet that, it carries a bit more weight as far as consideration for acceptance and for that merit-based scholarship. So you want to do your very best to try and meet that priority deadline. The final deadline is just simply the final deadline. We won't accept applications after that, and then the student would have to wait until for the next start, which would be a fall of 2023 start date.
Great.
I have a question too, Derek, if you don't mind, if I can ask Jen. This was posed to me by someone else, by one of my students. And the question is, will not having a strong background in statistics hurt my application? Is comfort and working knowledge of statistics preferred, recommended, or required? And I thought that was a really great question.
So I would say highly recommended, highly recommended, just because biostatistics and epidemiology, we want to set you up for success. And so you would need to have some background, whether you've taken a calculus class or a math class in college, or some people have, I think, taken Coursera courses or like other types of courses to show that, and have gotten certificates around biostatistics, something to show that you can and understand math and biostats, or like you'd be prepared to take a class like that, because we do want to set you up for success, because biostats is a pretty rigorous course. It's a pretty difficult course to go through, honestly. And so we just want you to make sure you have a little bit of background in math.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Any other questions from anyone on the call? And I guess I'd also pose that to the presenters. Thanks, Kim, for asking that, because we also hear from students all the time. They have questions, and whether they're asked on the webinar or not, we like to bring them up on the webinar, because they're very common questions, and you may not even know that you should be asking this question. So it's good to hear it, and good to hear an answer to it. So I kind of want to pose that back to the presenters, if there's anything they would like to maybe mention to the students as a final message.
I wanted to share that our cohort that's coming this fall. Yes, there's folks that with a public health background, but we've also have folks that have more of an education background, high school teachers. We have folks in finance, consulting, military, just a really wonderful, diverse group with different backgrounds in terms of their work industry. And so just to let you know, we do love bringing in folks that can be in the classroom to really just have a wonderful dynamic discussion around public health. And if you're thinking of like, I haven't really taken public health courses. It's not about that. It's like, why do you want to get into public health? Why do you want to pivot into public health? So it's like, why Brown? Why now? Why public health? And if you can demonstrate that in your statement, it's a strong statement. So just want to really mention that we have a diverse group of students coming from different industries, and we welcome all industries. And the more, the better, that we can all be in conversation with each other, coming from different, just different aspects of work. So just to put that out there.
Great. Okay. I don't see any other questions, and I think, I think we're in a good place right now. Again, the slide that you're seeing, these are the dates to remember. If more questions pop up, there's the phone, there's the email. Get in touch with Kim. She can help answer any of the questions you have. But I guess our next discussion again will be August 30th. Please join us. The link is in the chat. And we look forward to hearing from you then. Thanks everyone for coming today.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for coming.
Thanks for coming. Take care.